So now we have a plan for your life. You're sleeping on the beanbags, it's a flow. You're on the bus, you have a flow. On the train, you have a flow. You're resting in nature where you have flows, losing yourself in forest. But on average, 8 hours a day you work. And work is the most boxy part of our life. We work with computers and spreadsheets and data, and it's even your colleagues in the interaction with them can be kind of boxy, because in work it's very important to use exact technical language and not communicate in a way that is subject to interpretation, because that's how productivity suffers and conflicts may arise between you and your colleagues. So in work you have to be very exact, very you have to have an engineering mindset, boxy mindset, left brain mindset. So in work, is there a place for flows? Is there a place to give up control in work? Surprisingly, yes. You just need to, again, you need to search and find those. Here are some examples that I have used in my work processes. And just to clarify, my work is in the field of domain names, which is an extremely boring, boxy, analytical, absolutely left brain activity. So there are objects, and there are objects connected to other objects. It's abstract, it's mathematical sometimes, and there are really no flow processes in the domain industry. Everything is set in stone. There are protocols, there are RFCs, and so my work is as far as it can be from things like arts, and it's also not so people related. We had people in our company that have not seen a single person in years. They communicate with one other person, and the communication is sending a file, thank you, sending a file, thank you, stuff like this. So it's a really box-centered occupation, what I do. And even though I have managed to find opportunities for flows in my work, here are some examples. Mixing boxes and flows to create a single workflow. Well, that's something that we already discussed when we discussed the subway and getting out the last possible minute. You can do the same with your work. Try to not have periods of 5 or 10 or 15 seconds where you're doing nothing, where you're waiting for a website to load, where you're waiting for an answer from your colleague. If you're sitting staring blankly at the chat and waiting for someone to answer, better find something else that is not deep work and do it in a minute. Look at an email, do something else. Multitasking gets a very bad rep, and it's for a reason, because it impedes deep work. But what really doesn't get enough bad rep is just waiting and doing nothing, because then you think that this is not multitasking, but it is, because your brain is never doing nothing. So at the moment where you're waiting for something, you are being actively distracted by yourself, or by looking at your phone, social media. You are distracting yourself. There are thoughts coming in, because your brain is never static. It's not that you're resting. It's not true rest. What it is, it's tiring multitasking of your work and something random. And if it's gonna be multitasking, at least get some shit done, and switch into another task that is very short. Looking into your email is just a lot of tiny tasks. Most emails don't require answering, at least in my inbox. So I just look at an email, archive. In 15 seconds, I can look at and archive 2 or 3 emails, and then get back into the chat with my colleague, the feeling that I did something productive while I'm waiting. So you can absolutely combine 2 flows of work, let's say a chat and an email, 2 chats, to achieve a continuous flow. And if you have to do some moderate amount of multitasking to do it, well, do it if there's no other option. That's the best way to productivity, because the moment you're sitting doing nothing, you're giving yourself a bad signal, again, that your work is not meaningful enough. You're no longer in hunter mode if you're just sitting and doing nothing. You can lose your hunter mode. And if you lose your hunter mode, you get into sheep mode, and then it may be hard to get into hunter mode again. So it's very important that you don't have these tiny meaningless breaks. What you actually need is good big breaks. When you feel tired after 1 or 2 hours, just get off the PC. Don't look at your phone, don't look at your PC, don't look at any screens. Walk around, go to your kids, your pets, your loved one, whoever's around. Go and have a chat with a friend in the office. Do something that is a flow. Really don't forget the boxes. get your brain a bit of rest, and then 15 minutes you return more productive and more creative. Another thing that you can do in your work to facilitate flows is the relationships with your colleagues. I don't know why, but we have this notion that you should be distanced with your colleagues, that you should give them a lot of space and not really put your emotions in any way into work. But this just doesn't make any sense to me. If people are in a team and they have a goal, of course they are gonna have emotions related to work. And if you don't have positive emotions, you're just opening the space for negative emotions. There's no point in working in a dry, emotionless environment, and it's also impossible. So in work, you should try to work with the best people you can possibly find. If you're a business owner, you should try to hire the best people you can possibly find. And this is not just about their work abilities, but also their character. They should be nice, compassionate, and they should be nice, compassionate people, and of course, they should be no assholes. Even a single toxic person can destruct the work environment of tens, even hundreds of people in bigger corporations. There are studies about this, that there are people that are so toxic that they poison the environment for everyone. And working with the right people and putting emotions into your work is the best path for success in work and for having a nice, joyful time while you're working. And of course, these feelings are a flow. You can never overdo things such as support, respect, compassion, and all of the forms of love that you can give to your colleagues. So if you have positive emotions in your work, if you really like to communicate with a colleague, just let them know, don't hold back, be warm, be positive, and this also leads to the best possible work being done. This is the greatest things about flows, that you cannot overdo them. You cannot be too loving, too compassionate, too respectful, too motivated, too creative, or too responsible. All of these are flows and you cannot really overdo them. And if you have a lot of those flows, mixing them is never a problem. It only compounds the great things that they carry. You're responsible and creative, great. They won't get into each other's way. On the contrary, you'll be the best.